Welcome to Men Making a Difference, PGSAO men who inspire and motivate.
Ed Burroughs, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. You know, often people get to hear from me and about my work in the office as the elected state's attorney. I know that you serve on our school board, but you also play a role here in the state's attorney's office. So why don't you tell everyone about your job here?
Absolutely. So I wear two hats in the office. My first hat is coordinating our teen court program, which is one of our juvenile diversion programs. We have young people who make simple mistakes, and instead of prosecuting them and putting them in the system, in our office, we work to provide wraparound services and support, and really through a restorative justice model, work with other young people to help the young people who made mistakes realize the error of their ways, and work to make amends. That's the first hat that I wear. And secondly, more recent hat that I wear is Legislative Affairs Director, where I assist the state's attorney in carrying out her legislative agenda, both at the County Council and in Annapolis.
Yeah, and so like last year, you kind of came in on the tail end of our legislative session in Annapolis to really help usher through some important legislation. You want to talk about a couple of bills that we were able to successfully pass last year?
Absolutely. I would say one of the bills that I was so happy to witness history in our state was the Second Lieutenant Richard Collins hate crime statute and modification. As I guess maybe some people who are watching this know or may not know, that during the trial, the Urbanski trial, the judge threw out the hate crime penalty because he believed that in order for Urbanski in order to keep the hate crime, the sole motivating factor had to be hate, because Lieutenant Richard Collins was African American. And so the state's attorney and the state's attorney's office went to Annapolis to say that it really should read, hate could be a motivating factor in whole or in part, in order to have that element apply. And so that was able to successfully pass the General Assembly. It was such a honor to see his mother and his father go to Annapolis day in and day out and meet with our legislators to get that done. I'm so proud of our Legislative Black Caucus and the Prince George's County delegation that helped make that change in the statute a reality.
Yeah, and just, I know we have another bill you're going to discuss, but it is so important that we had that language change because oftentimes, in pretty much every case that we have, they're mixed motives. There's not just one motive in any crime, especially when it comes to homicides. Oftentimes you have more than one motive. And so to limit us to proving that the only motive or that the sole motive is hate, which would trigger the statute, really does not do justice for our communities. So thank you so much for your support and your help. And one of the great things about getting that legislation passed is not only did we have the family there, but we also had students from Bowie State University and the University of Maryland at College Park, where their campuses were really impacted by this horrific crime. So thank you again for your support for that and helping to get that important legislation passed. And so I know you want to talk about another piece of legislation.
Absolutely. Just to echo your sentiments, those students at Bowie State University, Maryland did a phenomenal job. They were so inspired and really went down to Annapolis to seek justice on behalf of their friend. And so it was just amazing to watch our office work with those students to empower them and bring real change that will last forever. And so it was an absolute honor to be a part of that. The second bill was to increase the penalty for someone who strangles someone else, essentially. So it was a misdemeanor, and now it's a felony. We know that when you strangle someone, generally happens a lot in domestic violence situations. And so it's so important that we hold those individuals accountable to the fullest extent of the law. And so I was very happy that we were able to partner with other states' attorneys and other offices to get that change in the law done.
And yeah, and we have a really aggressive agenda this year. So we know we're going to be working on legislation impacting minors who are victim of abuse. We know that we're going to be focusing on criminal justice reform and police reform. So we have a really aggressive agenda. We are in the process of putting it together. So I know that at some point you'll share that with the public, but how do you feel about doing this work? I mean, you know, this is a new area for you, criminal justice. How do you really understand this work? How have you kind of processed this work? And you're doing a great job, oh, by the way, but I think people coming into any new industry or new subject matter, you know, you have your challenges just learning and trying to master the subject matter. How have you kind of immersed yourself into all of this?
Well, you know, it is a really interesting time to come into this work in light of everything that's happening across the country. And so it's definitely eye-opening, and it's forced me to see things from different perspectives. You know, I'm naturally a leftist advocate. You know, that's just who I am as a millennial. But you know, it's really helpful to be engrossed in being forced to really look at and understand every side. And then also, it's great working in this office because you are constantly working to make our criminal justice system more just, right?